Hey everybody. It is the noon hour on Wednesday, August 18th. Just got back from State Fair on convocation. Class starts next week for my on-ground classes in anatomy and physiology. So I just learned something that I didn't know until probably last week. So those of you with type 2 diabetes that are insulin dependent or using the insulin analogs, you know that those medications have gotten sky high, expensive, 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 especially the insulin pens, which are running, $300, $400. And then some of the insulin analogs, which aren't technically insulin. I know one of them, I won't mention it by name, is $1,100 for a month's supply. Hey, Linda. And so turns out that there are a couple of three different pharmacies. I'm going to call out Walmart by name because that's the most affordable. And apparently, in May of 2019, Walmart combined with a pharmaceutical company to offer generic Novolog, which they call Rely On. They have regular insulin and NPH, which is an intermediate acting insulin. And then they have a 70-30 mix of NPH and regular insulin available without a prescription, 1,000-unit vial, just under $25. So if you have to ask for it. It's not on its shelf. It has to be one that I learned to manage in medical school. So I'm not advocating anybody go out and kind of play around with their own insulin without some help from a medical provider, whether that be your doctor, your nurse practitioner, your physician's assistant, or even a functional medicine nutritionist, a health coach like me. But you can manage your type 2 diabetes in the old-fashioned way for $25 for a 1,000-unit dose. Sorry, 1,000-unit vial. Don't anybody take 1,000 units of insulin. That would be bad. So let's think about this for a bit. So cost of insulin, big serious problem. We saw that article, or I think it was an article, about the 31, 32-year-old man someplace east of here who couldn't afford his insulin. He just basically died. I don't know if he was type 1 or type 2. I'm kind of specifically talking to type 2 diabetics who are using insulin or insulin analogs. So the expense has just gotten exorbitant. And so insulin deficiency or type 2 diabetes, seventh leading cause of death in the U.S. Part of strokes, part of heart disease, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a big deal. You cannot live without insulin. It might be the most important hormone in your body. So Walmart in 2019, after a JAMA article, started offering what's called Rely On, RELION, insulin and other over-the-counter insulins. So what's available? It had to be updated because they started offering pens for insulin in June. So require prescription. Regular and NPH insulin and the 70 do not require a prescription. Um, so, so the pre-mixed combination is 70-30 NPH and regular. So you can use, if you're only using regular, which is fast acting, you can use that. You have to eat. And that's true of the insulin analogs and some of the $1,000 or $1,100 analogs. You have to inject those like right before you eat. Regular insulin, NPH insulin, usually onset 30 to 60 minutes for the regular insulin. It peaks about 4 to 6 about 4 hours. So there's synthetic human insulins. It's different from the newer insulins that are called insulin analogs. So they're insulin-like. They're not quite insulin, they're analogs. Just making sure I'm still on task in here because my router's been acting up for a while. So if you're on insulin, even though I tell people to avoid carbohydrates, if you're on insulin, you have to eat something carbohydrate laden so that it more becomes glucose faster than a protein or a fiber or a natural fat. So if you're taking, especially regular insulin, you need something that's going to turn into sugar pretty quick. And there is kind of the, you're between a rock and a hard place because in order to control insulin, you have to fast and you have to reduce your carbohydrate intake. And really, if you're going to do that and you're on insulin, you really need some help with somebody who knows what they're doing. So your physician, your nurse practitioner, your PA. So when you're on the older types of insulin, your life is pretty much ruled by the clock. Insulin analogs and options, but they're much more expensive. So you really do have to pay attention to the clock, make sure you're taking the right dose, figuring out the right dose, and having some emergency measures in case your blood sugar gets too low. And we'll go through the signs and symptoms of that. So if you try to do this without guidance, you may be unaware that these insulins do not work in the body like the newer insulins that maybe you've been taking before. So you can get very big blood sugar fluctuations that can actually be fatal. So let's look at regular insulin and then NPH. So regular is short-acting insulin. It's taken several times per day. It used to be the only option for managing blood sugar around meals. Compared to today's rapid and fast-acting insulins, regular insulin is slower working because it stays in your system for a longer period of time, up to about 8 hours, and peaks about 4 hours after you inject. So more modern insulin is active in your bloodstream within 15 minutes and then out of your bloodstream within 4 hours. So you don't have to really worry about dropping too low or feeding that insulin or feeding that insulin dose after 2 to 3 hours after taking it. And so if you're in the hospital, we used to do this with pregnant women all the time. You would put pregnant women with gestational diabetes requiring insulin in the hospital and give regular insulin IV on a sliding scale, so they had to have their blood sugar taken every hour, and that helps you determine the dose of regular and NPH insulin. So NPH is also called intermediate acting insulin, and it used to be the only background insulin option, but it pales to today's other background options, but it's affordable. So you have to be able to draw up your own syringes. You have to make sure you get the correct dose and work with a healthcare professional to figure that out. And so NPH stays in your system about 10 to 16 hours. It's taken twice a day to cover the whole 24-hour background insulin need. And it also takes longer to become active in your bloodstream, peaking about 4 to 6 hours after taking it. So today's long-acting insulin options, Basaglar, Lantus, Levemir, Tresiba, Trujillo have generally no peak at all. So those are safer, but again, much more expensive. So the peak in the NPH insulin, if you're using that, or the mixture 70-30, contributes to a rigid eating schedule that a person has to follow if they're using these older insulins to manage blood sugar. But before all the new options, that's how it was done for years. Remember, insulin was discovered in 1921. The guy that discovered it sold the patent for $1. He didn't feel that insulin belonged to anybody, it was for the people. So, for the NPH and regular insulin and the mix, you do not need a prescription. You won't find it sitting on the counter. You have to ask a pharmacist for a vial in order to buy it at $25 for 1,000 units. So 10 cc's, 1,000 units per cc. So it's still managed fairly carefully by the pharmacy with the refrigeration, and it's still a high-value medicine, despite being only $25 per vial. So these insulins will help you stay alive if you truly cannot afford more modern insulin. And if they're the only type of insulin you have access to, then yes, it's a good option for you. And then if you want more modern insulins through your health insurance, so this does not require health insurance, you just pay for it. It's a retail price at $5. There are companies that have financial assistance programs. There are other pharmacies that offer NPH and regular and 70/30 insulin, but you have to and an okay for getting that, and I think it's more expensive than it is at Walmart pharmacy. So most people consider this the last resort. When I was in medical school, it was the only resort. So everybody used NPH or regular insulin or a mixture of the two. So in June, the latest update is that Walmart is now offering a private brand rapid-acting analog insulin called Rely On Novolog, and it's now available in Walmart pharmacies, and it's in Sam Club stores. You need a prescription to purchase this brand name insulin. It's available in two forms, either a $73 per vial, 10 cc each, or 1,000 unit vial, or $86 for a package of 5 pre-filled insulin syringes, or insulin pens, I guess I should say. So they're flex pens, each with 3 cc's, equivalent to 300 units of an insulin analog. Manufactured by Novo Nordisk, and it's similar to Novo Nordisk's Novolog brand. So that's what's available. Now, somebody mentioned when I was looking at this that they used to be able to get this for $28. I think they were specifically talking about the $25 vial. Okay, and so I think that's where that was coming up from. So what about if you take too much? Well, you need insulin to survive, right? Let me make sure I'm still on here. Yep, we're still on. So typically, if you take too much insulin and you don't eat, or if you're taking an NPH insulin when you should be, or taking a regular insulin when you should be taking a short-acting regular insulin, then you may get in trouble. And typically, you'll get shaky, dizzy, and things just kind of go south. If you get below 50, you're in trouble. So you have to pay attention to your blood sugar. Always have some rescue sugary snacks with you wherever you're at. Your purse, your car, your partner's car, just everything that you can think of just to keep yourself safe in case you take too much insulin. And then again, work with a healthcare professional, a nurse practitioner, a physician's assistant, a health coach that works with a functional medicine doctor to get the dose correctly. Most doctors and most that have patients on the older acting diabetes medications would more insulin than usual. But the idea is to get it to where on a daily basis you can keep your blood sugar, especially your postprandial blood sugar, between 150 and 200. So people that get up to hemoglobin A1Cs over 10, and then fasting blood sugars of 300s and all that, they're going to suffer the consequences from long-acting diabetes. So that's a quick primer. If you need help, send me a Facebook Messenger. You can email me at brianjtracy, bryanjtracymd@gmail.com. I'll get you hooked up with a doctor or a nurse practitioner or physician assistant. But there are affordable options. I did not know that NPH and regular insulin and the 70/30 mix has been available at Walmart over the counter for now over 2 years. So I got schooled, so I thought I'd school you. You coming up sometime this week, prepping hard for class that starts. My 2 classes start on Tuesday. I do have permission to allow you to join by Zoom. So anybody wants to take my class, several of you have made inroads to asking how you would do that. Again, email me and I'll tell you how to join. And you don't have to enroll if you don't want to. If you want college credit, you have to enroll. So I'm going to keep working at State Fair to get ready for the semester coming up. And I will talk to you probably Friday. I might come up with something tomorrow that piques my interest. And have a great rest of your day. See ya. Bye.